we welcome Mike Jankins to the studio with us. And last time you were here, Mike, we were talking a little bit about credit reports and the easier ways to obtain a credit report. And you helped out a lot of people. That was pretty cool. But now we're going to be talking about what do you do once you get this thing?
Right. If last time you actually went online and got your free credit reports, if you would have sent in for them, by about now you probably could have gotten them in the mail. So you could be opening them up and we could be talking about now how do we read those things. There's a lot of information in them, and a lot of people don't really know what all this stuff means. I mean, there's just a lot of things about debts that people have paid, and I like to tell my clients when they come in, it's really a history book. So sometimes people think it's only the bad stuff that's in there. I got to check my credit report, see what kind of bad stuff is lurking. Right. And it's not. It's a history, just like in U.S. history. The book contains the good stuff as well as the bad stuff.
Oh, okay. And how far back does it go?
Generally, it'll contain information for 7 years. So once something's reported on there, then after 7 years goes by, they drop that item. If you look at your credit report, it'll say when this item's been reported. And so after 7 years, that particular item drops off because they're pretty long, the credit reports, but if they didn't restrict them to 7 years, they would really be long.
Right. Yeah, like phone books. Yeah.
Or worse. And so they have to have some kind of cutoff point. And I suppose there's a matter of relevance after so many years, you know, how relevant is this information about the person? Right. So they restrict that, and there's other information that stays longer. Bankruptcies, Chapter 7 stay on for 10 years, and Chapter 13 bankruptcies stay on for 7. But all the other stuff eventually drops off, and over time a person's credit can get cleaned up just by the passage of time sometimes, even though they didn't pay their bills. Oh. But it's a really good tool for people to you know, figure out what they've got for debts if they haven't really been keeping good track. And the problem is they don't really give you a lot of instruction on what all the different terms mean and, you know, how important things are. Okay, for example, charge-off. What's a charge-off? Well, I'll sometimes tell people, hey, you need to bring your credit report and then we'll kind of see what your situation's like. And so they go, yeah, I got my credit report and it looks pretty good. Most of this stuff's been charged off, so it doesn't look like I have very much debt anymore. And I go, no, it's not really like that. I mean, these charge-offs are really the worst thing you can have reported on your credit report. They're about the worst.
What does that mean?
When a bank or a lending institution or a credit card company, which is in essence a bank, have classified your debt as a charge-off, they've pretty much thrown up their hands and go, okay, we give up. It has to be moved from performing payment or debt history to now it's unperforming. So we're just sort of writing it off as bad debt, not in the sense that they're forgiving it. It's just that they aren't counting on that money any longer.
They don't expect to see it?
Right. Now it's getting put on the bad side of the balance sheet at the bank on unperforming debts. And so it's the worst classification, I believe, you can have on your credit report. And so it's not forgiven. When it's charged off, that means not only do you owe it, but it's bad. And usually those are sent out to collections. And in this day and age, most of the debts that get charged off eventually get sold.
What does that mean?
So on your credit report, you will see remarks that say charged off, then transferred with a slash sold, and a big zero as far as the balance.
Oh, so that's how much you owe, right?
So yeah, it's not you know, happy days are here again. I don't owe that debt anymore. It's that the debt's not owed to the Capital One or to Discover Card. They've sold it as an investment to companies that buy these things in portfolios. They'll buy, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of this debt.
Why would they do something like that?
For pennies on the dollar. And then they can collect the whole thing if it's collectible. Wow. And so it's almost it's a big industry out there. Companies are springing up all the time to purchase these debts. And the time from, let's say, default to the time it's sold seems to have gotten shorter and shorter over the last 10 years, and I think most of these companies have arisen. And so when it used to be they'd be really, really stale when they'd buy them, now we see them charge off sometimes, I think 6-7 months after no payments. Wow. Sometimes we're seeing those things sold. And so then these companies, a lot of the big ones, they report to your credit reports and on the credit bureaus. And so we see a lot of these big companies, LVNV Funding, Midland Funding are really big, and they report to the credit bureaus. Portfolio Recovery is another really big one, and so you'll see them show that they acquired the debt, and it'll reference back the original credit card company that they acquired it from. We're seeing a lot of cell phone accounts are getting sold. It's amazing how many people we see that have 3 and 4 cell phone accounts that they haven't paid with all these different cell phone providers.
Wow.
And they're not just like $100 or $200, they're like $700 bills. And so those
and
are
I imagine
big.
those people, it's probably worse because they just start hammering on you because they want the money. They want to make a profit, right?
Right, and you know, and they don't even really have a lot of skin in the game. I mean, they bought these for pennies on the dollar, and they're the toughest collectors of them all. And so they put on a lot of pressure. And
because it's a lot of profit for them.
Sure.
Yeah.
And the thing is, a lot of these companies don't report to the credit report. So, you know, you see one of your old credit cards on there with a 0 balance now, and it was just sold, and you don't know, you can't track it on your credit report as you look through it.
So it's not a new one isn't going to pop up saying we're now going to come after
Exactly.
you.
So that's a problem. So when we're preparing people's cases and we're using their credit reports, we're going, you need to call your credit card company that sold it, because the people they sold it to aren't reporting on your credit. We need to find out who's got it.
Right.
Because when we're doing your bankruptcy, we need them listed so it goes away.
Yeah.
And so they have to make phone calls and say, hey, who did you sell my account to?
Right.
And they'll be told so-and-so, and so
they'll
they
give
call
them that
them up.
information.
Yeah, and they'll call them up and say, yeah, we've got it, and this is our address. Now, sometimes, this sounds really crazy, those debts get resold to other debt buyers.
What a mess.
Very
crazy.
Complicated. That's why we need somebody like you that can sort these things out. This is how you get a hold of
And
Mike.
that's just one verbiage that we covered.
Yeah. There it is, Iowa-bankruptcylaw.com for more information. He's over on 2nd Avenue, Suite 103, 255. Rest of the number?
1855.
Just quizzing you to make sure you know it. Okay.
It's early in the morning.
Wonderful. Yeah, just go over and he'll give you some assistance. Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Thank
Interesting.
you.